All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on something that I thought was really interesting. It's a YouTube video titled Single Mom to Spoiled Housewife in Less Than a Year.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty amazing. The creator is named Isis,
Okay.
and she basically walks through her whole journey and also tries to give advice to other women who maybe want to make a similar change in their life.
Okay, interesting.
And I know the title's a little out there,
Yeah.
Spoiled Housewife, but I think there's actually a lot to unpack here.
I think so, too. When I first saw this title, the thing that really struck me was the timeline.
Right.
Like less than a year. That's a really short amount of time to go through such a big transformation.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating. Like, what kind of mindset shift does it even take to go from being a single mom to basically, getting married and being a housewife?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start with where Isis was at before all of this happened. So she actually had her first child at 17.
Wow.
Yeah, she was really young. And then a couple years later, she had her second son. So she was a single mom for a while.
Mm-hmm.
She really focused on becoming financially independent.
Yeah.
And she even talks about having a very, I don't need a man attitude.
I think that's something we see a lot these days.
Yeah.
A lot of women really prioritizing their independence and their careers.
For sure.
And maybe those traditional relationship goals kind of take a back seat.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Isis's story shows that those deeper desires for family and connection, they don't just go away.
Absolutely. And that actually leads us to a pretty big turning point in her story. So she describes feeling super lonely one Christmas. It was just her and her sons.
Oh.
And she said it was like a light bulb moment for her. She realized that she actually wanted that family unit.
Yeah.
She wanted a partner to share life with.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a single parent.
Yeah.
Like having that support system, building a family for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Totally. But here's where things get interesting. So at first, she had a lot of misconceptions about what a high-value man really was. She thought it was all about looks, money, expensive stuff,
Yeah.
superficial things.
Right. I think it's really easy to fall into that trap, especially with all the messages we see in the media,
For sure.
equating material wealth with success and attractiveness.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It makes it hard to see past that sometimes.
Totally.
And look for that genuine connection.
And Isis actually admits that she had to unlearn some of those ideas.
Okay.
And she credits another YouTuber, Share A7, with helping her redefine what high value really means.
Interesting.
And that's kind of a key point here, right?
Yeah.
It's not about those surface level things.
Absolutely. And it's something for you listening to think about too. Like, what does high value actually mean to you?
Right.
Are you putting too much emphasis on those external things, or are you really looking for those deeper qualities like character, emotional intelligence,
Shared values.
things like that?
Right. So speaking of partners, let's talk about how Isis actually met her husband.
Okay.
Now get this. She was totally against online dating.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In the beginning, she was like, nope, only desperate people use those apps.
There's definitely a stigma around online dating.
Totally.
But, technology has changed the game.
Right.
It's totally normal now.
Especially when you're busy.
Yeah. Or if you just don't have a huge social circle.
For sure. So something must have changed her mind because she ended up trying eHarmony.
Right.
And guess what? The second person she matched with was her now husband.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
that's wild.
Yeah, they clicked right away,
Okay.
even though he was actually 20 years older than her.
Ooh, that's a bit of an age gap.
It is. But she mentions in the video that she's always felt mature for her age,
Okay.
so maybe it wasn't a big deal for them.
I guess so.
But what's really interesting is that they just had this immediate connection.
That's important.
Right. That initial spark, that comfort, it's a powerful sign of compatibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we're getting to the part where Isis's approach to dating gets really interesting.
Okay.
She was all about dating multiple people at the same time.
Okay.
She had this whole thing about avoiding what she called the girlfriend trap.
The girlfriend trap.
Yeah, what do you think she means by that?
Yeah.
I think she's talking about that feeling of obligation.
Okay.
When someone's investing a lot in you, like gifts and attention, the whole 9 yards,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to feel pressured to commit,
Right.
even if you don't really feel that deep connection.
Yeah, like you're trapped in this expectation of becoming their girlfriend.
Exactly.
Even if it's not what you truly want.
Right. And get this. She actually admits to falling into that trap herself with a different guy
Oh, no.
who is showering her with gifts and attention.
It just goes to show
Yeah.
you can have a plan.
Right.
But sometimes your emotions just take over.
Totally.
Really.
And Ultimately, for Isis, the most important thing was finding someone who genuinely connected with her sons.
Of course, her kids are her world.
Exactly.
And finding someone who loves and respects your children, that's huge for any single parent.
It is.
It's not about replacing a biological parent or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's about adding someone positive and supportive to the family.
And that's where her now husband really stood out. So after she broke up with that other guy, he reached out
Oh, wow.
to check on her and the kids.
That's sweet.
He had already built a bond with them.
Oh, okay.
And that was huge for Isis,
It makes sense.
to know that he cared about them too.
Yeah, that kind of genuine care after a breakup, that's really powerful.
It is.
It says a lot about his character,
Totally.
his empathy, willingness to embrace her family.
For sure. But hold on, because things are about to get even more interesting.
All right, I'm listening.
So instead of just offering her a place to stay, her now husband basically proposes a very unconventional living arrangement.
Oh. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Yeah. He basically said, if you're going to live with me, it'll be as my wife, not my girlfriend.
Whoa.
Like a no beating around the bush, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty bold move.
It is.
Sounds like he was serious about their connection and ready to commit.
Oh, yeah. And Isis was all for it.
Okay.
Remember, she's all about spontaneity.
Right.
They actually started talking about marriage almost immediately.
Wow.
But you know, Isis, she's not one for just talking. She likes to take action.
Yeah.
So guess what she did?
What?
She went out and bought his wedding ring.
She bought his ring first.
I know.
That's not something you hear every day.
It's not.
That's pretty amazing.
It really is.
Shows how much she wanted to make this happen.
Exactly. And she even says in the video, you know, if I don't get the ring now, I'm not going to get it.
So she was serious.
Yeah, she knew what she wanted.
That's great.
And it totally worked.
Good for her.
He went out and bought her a ring soon after.
Okay.
Now, the first ring he got her wasn't as fancy as the one she has now, but Isis's reaction was surprisingly mature.
I'm curious about that because it's so easy to get caught up in like the size of a ring or how sparkly it is.
Right. Especially with social media these days. There's so much pressure.
So what did she say?
She just said it's not about the ring. It's about the marriage.
Wow.
She understood what really mattered, their connection.
That's a great perspective.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good reminder for anyone getting engaged.
For sure.
Like, it's not about the material stuff.
It's about the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah. The love.
So, are you ready for this?
What?
They got married the following week.
No way.
Yes.
That was fast.
Super fast. Her family was totally shocked.
I bet.
But Isis was ready to jump into this new chapter.
Good for her.
They had a small courthouse wedding.
Okay.
And then they had a beautiful reception in Washington, D.C.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
So it's like a whirlwind romance.
Totally.
Ending with a dream wedding.
It really is.
Sounds like a fairy tale.
But beyond the romantic aspect of it all,
Yeah.
I think there's a really valuable lesson here about personal transformation.
I agree.
Isis really emphasizes that she had to put in the work to become the woman her husband chose. She's very honest about her past choices and the growth she experienced to attract a different kind of partner.
It shows the importance of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Personal development.
And taking responsibility for your own happiness.
Exactly.
And there's one more detail that I think adds another layer to the story.
Okay.
So after she bought his ring, Isis checked her eHarmony profile.
Okay.
And she saw that her future husband had updated his picture.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Yeah, do you think that maybe triggered some insecurity?
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Especially after she had just made this spontaneous decision to buy the ring.
Right.
It would make anyone question things.
Totally. She even thought maybe he was playing games.
Oh, no.
And she messaged him saying it doesn't seem like we're on the same page. But he immediately reassured her that he was committed. He wasn't playing games.
It sounds like classic overthinking.
Right. We've all been there.
Oh, for sure.
Especially at the beginning of a relationship when you're not quite sure where things stand.
Those insecurities can really get the best of us.
But his response was really important.
He was.
He didn't dismiss her feelings.
Right.
He reassured her.
And followed through with his actions.
Exactly. Which really solidified his commitment.
That open and honest communication is so key.
Oh, it's essential.
In any relationship.
For sure. So, you know, thinking about Isis's whole journey.
Yeah.
Going from a single mom to, and as she puts it, a spoiled housewife.
Right.
What do you think we can really take away from her experience?
Well, for one, I think it challenges those traditional ideas about relationships
Mm.
and shows that, self-awareness, personal growth,
Yeah.
taking leaps of faith, these things can lead to unexpected happiness.
And it reminds us to really examine what high value means to us.
Absolutely.
It's about aligning our desires with our values,
Right.
being open to possibilities that we might not have considered before.
And it highlights that there's no one right way to have a relationship.
That's true.
What works for Isis might not work for someone else.
Right.
And that's totally okay.
Yeah, the key is to be true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
your values,
Your desires.
what you truly want.
Exactly.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
But this term spoiled housewife?
Yeah,
It might rub some people the wrong way.
it might. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a loaded term.
Yeah.
It brings up certain stereotypes that might not resonate with everyone.
Right.
But for Isis, it seems like it's more about
Yeah.
feeling loved, cherished, supported,
Mm-hmm.
having the freedom to focus on what brings her joy.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean she's financially dependent or has given up on her own goals. Remember, she helps her sisters find husbands.
She does.
So she's clearly still
Entrepreneurial.
right.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
where both partners feel valued,
Mm-hmm.
respected,
Yeah.
empowered to pursue their passions,
Hopefully.
whether it's inside or outside the home.
So after diving deep into Isis's story,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is the main takeaway for our listener today?
I think her story encourages us to challenge those societal expectations
Okay.
and really redefine what a fulfilling relationship means for us individually.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being open to different possibilities,
Yeah.
embracing personal growth,
Mm.
and prioritizing genuine connection above all else.
And maybe, most importantly,
Yeah.
it reminds us that there's nothing wrong with wanting a partner, a family, a life that might not fit the mold.
Right.
It's about owning our desires and creating a life that aligns with our authentic selves.
Exactly. And as you think about your own life and relationships, consider this. How much emphasis do you place on those external factors versus that genuine connection?
Right.
Are you focusing on those superficial qualities or are you really searching for deeper compatibility, shared values?
That's something for all of us to think about.
It is.
And, just like Isis took a leap of faith
Yeah.
and found happiness in an unexpected place, maybe it's time for all of us to rethink our own definition of a high-value partner
Right.
and embrace the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah. It really makes you think about how we define success in relationships,
It does.
Here's Isis, who went from feeling like she had to handle everything on her own
Right.
to embracing this more traditional partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And she seems genuinely happy.
She does.
It's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to relationships.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another, and that's totally fine.
Exactly. The important thing is to be true to ourselves, our values, what we genuinely want. And I think even though the term spoiled housewife might come with some baggage,
Yeah.
it seems like Isis sees it as a positive reflection
It does.
of the partnership that she's created.
It's interesting to think about what spoiled actually means to her.
Right.
It could be about feeling loved and cherished and supported,
Mm-hmm.
having that freedom to focus on things that bring her joy.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean she's financially dependent
Right.
or that she's given up on her own goals.
Exactly.
Remember, she helps her sisters find husbands.
She does.
So she's clearly still driven and, entrepreneurial in a way.
I think it highlights the importance of finding a balance
Yeah.
that works for both partners,
Mm-hmm.
a dynamic where each person feels valued, respected,
Right.
empowered to pursue those passions,
For sure.
whether those passions lie inside or outside the home.
So after diving deep into Isis's story, what do you think are some of the biggest takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think her story encourages us to question those societal expectations and redefine what a fulfilling relationship looks like on an individual level. It's about being open to those different possibilities,
Yeah.
embracing personal growth, and prioritizing genuine connection above all else.
And maybe most importantly, it reminds us that there's nothing wrong with wanting a partner, a family, a
Yeah.
life that might not fit the mold.
Exactly.
It's about owning our desires and creating a life that truly aligns with who we are.
Absolutely. Being authentic and embracing the journey, whatever it might lead us. And who knows, you might just find yourself pleasantly surprised by the destination, just like Isis.
I love that. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Hey, thanks for having me.
But be sure to let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your take on ISIS's story.
And as always, if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions just like this one.